everybody, Sean from Movie Assault here, and it is time once again for another video. This time around, I'm going to take a stab at my top 25 summer movies of all time. These are going to just be my favorite summer movies or movies that I think of when I think about summertime, or watching them puts me in sort of a summer mood. There's not really, it's sort of a loose list. This was inspired by Miranda's movie Madness. She came up with this. Kenny's Movie Palace has done this as well, and I believe the Movie Bay, D at the Movie Bay has done it. So I'm just throwing my 2 cents into the ring. These aren't in any particular order. I was going to hold up a copy of each one, but some of these I don't own, so I'll just put a graphic up for each one of these. But I'll just start off and tell you just quickly why each one of these has a special place in my heart, or why they make me think of summer, or if it's pretty obvious because they're a summer movie, you'll probably get it. But we'll do this, we'll try to knock this out pretty quick. So I'll start off with Meatballs from 1979, starring Bill Murray. This is just a movie, it's about a summer camp, and I've mentioned this movie before in other videos that I've done. I just sort of, when the movie came out, I kind of identified with the Chris Makepeace character. I was sort of an awkward kid. And Bill Murray and his sense of humor made it easier to kind of get through the hardships of being a dorky kid. And took place at a summer camp, but I never went to a summer camp. But I just sort of identified with the character and just the awkwardness of being a goofy kid. And I don't know, it's a great movie and well worth seeing. Then next would be E.T., the Extraterrestrial. This is, of course, the big summer blockbuster from 1982. It's just a movie that I've seen multiple times. I've seen it at the drive-in, and this was before home video was mainstream, so if you wanted to see it more than once, you had to go to the movies to see it. More than likely, some people did have VCRs and whatnot, but I don't think this was available very early on VHS or Beta. So you had to go to the theater to see it, and I would go with every chance I got, mainly during the summer. So there you go. Next up is a more recent edition, Wet Hot American Summer. This I actually saw on Netflix for the first time. I don't own a copy of it, and I hadn't heard anything about it until my wife introduced it to me, and that's really rare that she introduces me to a film. But it's really sort of a parody on the summer camp films where adults play the roles of kids at a summer camp, and it's got a stacked cast. Elizabeth Banks, Paul Rudd, Amy Poehler, I can't think of who else is in it, Bradley Cooper, just a really good cast. It's really dorky, it's really funny. Michael Ian Black is in it. John Hamm, I believe, is in it. The plot makes zero sense. It's really funny, and I might be getting it confused because I think there was a series based on the movie, and then there was a sequel as well. So I might be getting some of the cast members or plot elements mixed up, but the original movie is the best of all of the spin-offs and whatnot. But Wet Hot American Summer. Can't make a list like this without mentioning Fast Times at Ridgemont High. While it's not necessarily a summer movie, some of it does take place in the summer, and it's just a teenage movie. And this is one of the first movies that spoke to me as a kid, that came out around the time that I was just going into being a teenager, and I kind of identified with characters that were my age, that weren't super awkward and super dorky, but we're just kind of entering into that puberty stage. And I could see that even older kids were kind of awkward. I don't know. It was just a great film, very funny, well written, well directed, just a great movie. Next up would be Summer School from, I believe, 1985, maybe? 1987. I'm doing this off the top of my head, so if I get any of the dates wrong, don't crucify me. But this stars Mark Harmon, and Kirstie Alley's in it, and it's just the story of a bunch of kids who are stuck in summer school. Mark Harmon plays the summer school teacher. and he's got the hots for Kirstie Alley, who's in the room next to him, who is also a summer school teacher. Uh, Courtney Thorne Smith plays one of his students that sort of has a thing for him. There's an amalgamation of weird characters in his class, just really funny. Not a movie that would be made today, and if it was, it wouldn't be the same. Really need to see it. Summer School, it's hilarious. Field of Dreams would be next, and this is a movie that came out during the summer, and I haven't seen it in a while. It's been a while, but when I remember this movie, I remember walking out of it trying to hide the fact that I was bawling my eyes out when I walked out of the theater. There's a very, very strong relationship between the protagonist, Kevin Costner, and his father in the movie, and my father and I didn't have the greatest of relationships, so just something in this movie triggered something, and I just bawled my eyes out when I was walking out of the theater. And I happened to be working at that theater, not at the time that I saw the film, but everybody that was in the theater working knew me very well, and it was just something that I kind of wanted to get out and get away from everybody before they saw that I was bawling my eyes out. But it's a great film, and when I think of summer movie going, I always think of Field of Dreams, and it's a great movie. I can't not mention Caddyshack, which is a fantastic movie from the early 80s. Chevy Chase, Bill Murray, Rodney Dangerfield. Just hilarious. I watched it on TV, and it was censored, and there was something about it that it just made it feel empty and wrong, and like there was something not just missing, but like it wasn't appropriate anymore, and it kind of made me feel like, okay, this movie isn't PC anymore. But then I rewatched it uncensored, and I laughed my ass off, and I'm like, I don't know why I got all uppity about it. This is a fantastically funny movie. So Caddyshack is definitely on my list of top summer movies. I can't have a list without Jurassic Park, big summer movie from 1993. I went to see it the night it came out. My jaw hit the floor when the dinosaurs appeared on the screen. This is one of the first movies that really wowed me with special effects. It was CGI and practical effects mixed in such a way that you really couldn't tell the difference. It was the perfect blending of CGI and practical effects, and I was a huge dinosaur nut when I was a little kid. So this was like my dream come true to see living, breathing dinosaurs on the screen. And I don't remember how many times I saw Jurassic Park that summer, and I've owned it on every format that it's ever come out on, other than Laserdisc. I've never had a Laserdisc player. But Jurassic Park is just an amazing, amazing movie. I can't mention summer camps and summer without mentioning Friday the 13th. My dad took me to see this when it came out in 1980. I remember being very nervous and anxiety-ridden because I don't like jump scares, and I was worried through the whole movie that the movie was just going to be full of jump scares, and I don't remember there being any, but I was all for the gore and the blood because I used to read Famous Monsters of Filmland magazine, and I had seen many pictures of all the different special effects, and they were all in black and white in that magazine. But then Fangoria came along, and I got to see all the in-color pictures of the sequels. Gore effects, but yeah, my dad took me to see Friday the 13th during the summer, and every summer after that we would get another Friday the 13th movie for quite a while, and so the original just sticks out in my head as a top summer movie. I can't not mention Star Wars either. My Aunt Patty took me to see Star Wars in the summer of 1977 when it came out, and I originally found out about Star Wars while I was on vacation with my parents, the last vacation actually that my parents took me on before they got divorced, and we saw a clip of it on the news, and they were talking about how it was a fantasy western in space, and I'm like, that looks amazing, what is that? And as soon as I could, with my first $2 that I got for my allowance, I went down to a Lawson's store, which became Dairy Mart, which I don't think exists anymore. And I bought the paperback of the novelization of Star Wars, and I read it. And then finally the movie came to my town, and I was able to watch it. Absolutely all about Star Wars during the summer. I threw Batman Begins on this list because I remember the summer of 2005 going to see Batman Begins with a friend of mine who unfortunately we're not friends anymore. But I just remember that being a really cool summer night, just going with my friend and seeing Batman Begins. And then I took her home, and it was, and it wasn't, and the fact that it was a girl, we weren't like boyfriend, girlfriend, or there wasn't any longing or anything like that. It was just a really nice night with my friend before she went away to help with Hurricane Katrina, and she ended up meeting her eventual husband, and she kind of just disappeared from my life, and we're not friends anymore. But it was a really nice night with my friend, who just sort of exited my life pretty much right after that. But it was also the beginning of the new Batman series, which was synonymous with summer for the next 4 years, or 7 years, I should say. Raiders of the Lost Ark and Clash of the Titans. I mention these two together because in the summer of 1981, my friend and I, my best friend at the time, we were standing outside of a theater, and we couldn't decide between Clash of the Titans or Raiders of the Lost Ark. So we left it up to me to choose, and I picked Clash of the Titans because I was fond of Ray Harryhausen and his stop motion special effects. And I just wasn't in the mood for a big budget 1940s type of thrill movie from George Lucas and Steven Spielberg. Of course, Raiders of the Lost Ark was the better movie, but I still have a soft spot in my heart for Clash of the Titans. So they both made the list from the summer of 1981. But I always think that's hilarious. But the next summer, I redeemed myself by going to see my next entry on the list, which is Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan, which we both thoroughly enjoyed. That is a great Star Trek film. Of course, it's one of the even Star Trek films, which, of course, all the even ones are the good ones from the original cast Star Trek films. I also have to mention Stand By Me, which, of course, is based on the story by Stephen King about a bunch of friends going to see a dead body, and they travel a long distance, and they make a journey, and they run into all sorts of not adventures, but, well, I do have adventures, but all sorts of different difficulties, and they run into some bad people and stuff. And it's just a really good bonding movie, male bonding movie as kids. But there's a line at the end, which I won't say or try to paraphrase or ruin, that's said by Richard Dreyfuss, who plays the narrator of the movie. And that sticks in my head. If you've seen the movie, you know what I'm talking about, but that line alone is worth seeing the movie. It's about friendship, and how friendships just sort of, you never know when they're going to end, and that just sticks with me every time I think about that movie. Next up would be Forgetting Sarah Marshall, which is a movie that if it's on TV, I will stop and watch it, even if it's censored. It's still hilarious. Of course, it's always better uncensored, but I love that movie. Jason Segel, excuse me, is just hilarious in that movie. Oh, my mind is blank. Sorry. I like I said, I'm doing this off the top of my head. Mila Kunis and Paul Rudd and I can't remember her name. She plays Sarah Marshall, but I can't remember the name of the actress. I'll put it at the bottom of the screen when I edit this. But everybody in this movie is great, and it always makes me laugh. So there you go. Forgetting Sarah Marshall. National Lampoon's Vacation. I think this movie has been on every list that I've seen so far. I can't not put it on. So yeah, National Lampoon's Vacation is the ultimate summer movie for obvious reasons. Also, Grease from 1978. My dad took me to see that one too, and I do not like musicals. I've never liked musicals, but there are two musicals in my life that I like and will always accept into my life and watch. Jesus Christ Superstar is my number one favorite. I grew up with that record. I know every word of it. And Grease, for some reason, I just have fond memories of that film. It's a great summer movie. I remember watching it on a really hot summer day. It was really nice to go into the theater and get into the air conditioning and just relax and just watch this movie that was super lighthearted and had excellent soundtrack, and Olivia Newton-John and John Travolta and just the rest of the cast. It was around the time that like Sha Na Na was big on TV, or at least became big maybe because of this, and the 50s was big because of Happy Days and Laverne and Shirley. And I was into all of that stuff at the time, so Grease just was right up my alley. This one I sort of wavered on. I wasn't sure to put Spider-Man from 2002 or Spider-Man 2 from 2004. But I went with the original Spider-Man just because I was so psyched up for this when it was coming out. I watched every preview, couldn't get enough of it. Went to see it the night it came out, and it was sort of the dawn of the modern age of blockbuster superhero movies. I know X-Men came out 2 years prior, and it probably really launched the new superhero movie wave that we're all sick of now. But Spider-Man was one of my favorite characters as a kid growing up, and seeing a live-action version of Spider-Man done right, when previously all I had seen is the 1978 Nicholas Hammond thing on TV, which was laughable at best, mediocre at worst. And this was just great. The suit was awesome. The special effects were great for their time. So yeah, and it was a summer blockbuster, and I just remember that summer very fondly. So I have to say Spider-Man from 2002. Terminator 2 from 1991. That was one that I worked at a theater at the time. I was a projectionist, and the anticipation for that film was just tremendous. And I remember the night that we got the print for it in, I built it up in the projection booth, and everybody who worked at the theater stayed late to watch it before it was released that Friday. Or did that have a preview the night before? I can't remember. But before anybody else could see it, we let all of our friends in, which we probably weren't allowed to do. And we just got big bags of popcorn, and we sat down and we showed this movie, which was super long. And I think we were there till like 3 o'clock in the morning watching this movie. We were tired, and we were still blown away. And it was just amazing. Terminator 2 has become one of my all-time favorite action films. Recently knocked for my all-time favorite action film spot by Mad Max Fury Road, but still way up there. Terminator 2, awesome. Have to mention Independence Day. I remember being super excited for that to come out during the summer of 1996, going to see that the night it came out and just being floored by it. I was a little disappointed with the end of it, because it started off fantastic and then it just sort of ended. But I thought the beginning and the build-up with the spaceships looming over the city, sort of like V from the 80s, was amazing. The sound design in that film was awesome. And I went to see it like the next day, and they had moved it into a different theater with a weaker sound system, and I found it much less exciting without the booming sound. So it was much more impressive with a better sound system. But it was still a good movie, and I still enjoy it to this day, even though there's a lot wrong with it in terms of plot devices and goofy stuff going on. Will Smith is still funny in it. Jeff Goldblum. It's not a great movie, but it's a fun movie. Speaking of not great movies, but fun movies, these next two, The Great Outdoors and Summer Rental, with John Candy. Both excellent summer movies. The Great Outdoors was a movie that the first time I watched it at a drive-in, and I didn't particularly like it. And I don't know why. It just didn't click. I thought it was okay, but I thought it was not very funny. I may have been in a bad mood. I don't know what the problem was, but I watched it again with my wife maybe 5 or 6 years ago, and I laughed my ass off, and now we watch it all the time. Sorry. So yeah, The Great Outdoors with John Candy, Dan Aykroyd. Just an amazing movie, just hilarious. I mean, it's stupid fun. I mean, obviously the things that happen in this movie are ridiculous, especially with the bear and whatnot, but it's a lot of fun. Summer Rental is a different tone of movie, but it's still a summer movie, and it's still got John Candy, and anything with John Candy is usually worth watching. And I like that movie. I haven't seen it as much as I've seen The Great Outdoors, but I don't own Summer Rental. I have The Great Outdoors in my collection, but Summer Rental I don't think is available on Blu-ray, and if it is, please correct me, and if you can point me to a copy of it, please do. but I have not seen it as often as I've seen The Great Outdoors, but I enjoy it just as much, and I always think fondly of Summer Rental. Um, these last two are probably my two favorite summer movies that are about summer and that I think about when I think about summer movies. These are the two that pop into my head. The Way, Way Back from 2013, which is a movie that does not get enough credit. I don't think enough people have seen. It is an amazing coming-of-age movie that has Steve Carell in it. Oh, crap. I probably should have read the box before I sat down. Steve Carell's in it, and he plays a really big asshole. And I can't remember the name of the kid who is the star of the whole movie. The whole movie's focused around him. I'll put it below. Sorry. Again, top of the head stuff. I can't think off the top of my head. But it's an amazing movie. I saw it once at the theater, and I went to see it again the very next day in 2013. And at the time, I was dating my now wife, and I took her to see it the second time I saw it. She loved it too. And as soon as it came out on Blu-ray, I bought it. And then the final movie, number 1, number 25, whatever you want to call it, is Jaws. That is the ultimate summer movie. I've seen Jaws probably more than any other movie other than Uncle Buck, which I used to sit and watch when I was working at the movies. But Jaws it's just the ultimate summer movie. It takes place during the summer. It's about a shark killing people at the beach. it's an adventure movie. It's sort of a horror movie. It's an action movie. It's just amazing. And I don't think you can make a better summer movie than Jaws. So Jaws is, if I'm not, these weren't in any order, but Jaws is definitely my favorite summer movie of all time. So there you go. Those are my top 25 summer movies. Again, all opinion. Your list may vary. My list is my list. Hey. Everybody has an opinion, and you know what they say about opinions. Opinions are like, you know the rest of that. So anyway, if you've watched this far, thank you for watching. I appreciate your attention span. As always, thank you for making it this far. And stay tuned for more videos coming up on Movie Assault. And stay tuned for a special announcement coming soon on this channel that's not necessarily just about this channel. I will tease you later. Take it easy. Bye.